I wanted to talk about this story so bad, but I could not, for the life of me, do it because I forgot this woman's name. And I actually put out a tweet basically saying that, you know, it's scary sometimes as a black man in America that I can wake up and just wonder what kind of rhetoric is going to come to us today. What kind of blame black men rhetoric are we going to get hit with today? And then that's when I kind of alluded to this WNBA player who I cannot remember her name, basically saying that she blamed black men for the lack of support that the WNBA gets. And as a black man and as black men, we have heard that rhetoric over and over and over again for a while now. And then that's when someone who's, I'm not sure if they're following me or not, but they came across my tweet. They gave me her name. And now I'm here making this video because the tweet that she posted was from a few days ago and black men went in on her. So this woman's name is Layshia Clarendon, and she plays in the WNBA. And she basically put out a tweet that she blamed black men for the lack of support that the WNBA gets. Let me tell you something right now. Black men are not the only ones who watch the WNBA. Believe it or not, there are black men out there that do watch the WNBA. You have white men who watch it. You have, of course, white women and black women who watch it. And you even have children that watch it. Take it from somebody who used to work, not used to work, but I still do, at an arena where they would have different sporting events, and the WNBA is one of those events. Did you know that not last year, but the year before, they ended up having to move the WNBA team outside of the arena because they could not sell enough tickets to fill even just one floor. Like going to a WNBA game was like going to a high school game. You would have college games play there and they could fill up an arena depending on what team was there. But even then they would still have more in attendance than the WNBA did. So it's not because of black men, Layshia, I don't know how you pronounce your name. It's because it's just nothing to marvel at. It's not the NBA. And it's crazy. She immediately blamed black men when there's other people out there that watch it. I wonder why she didn't blame any of the women, because that's who it's really catered to the most. If you think about it, women and children for the most part, because that's who I saw in attendance the most, especially since the WNBA, their season is not only short, but it's also in the summer. In the summertime when a lot of people are vacationing. So no one's really going to games like that. The only games that happen during the summer are the WNBA and baseball. Because, you know, hockey's done. The NBA is done. The football, the NFL has been done by that time. So the only two things going on at that time is the NBA and baseball. And baseball has a bigger attendance because they start in the spring. And for most people, they're more enjoyable to watch than the WNBA. Now, in its essence, the WNBA had a very high attendance, especially, you know, when it was new because it started out in the 90s. The WNBA is not even 30 years old, I don't think. It's like 20 something years old. So it's a very young organization. And I'm going to need a lot of these women who think like her to be careful, because if it wasn't for the NBA funding them, then they would not, you know, they would cease to exist. And we've also heard the talking points from other WNBA players talking about pay and everything, like equal pay and everything. Oh, they feel like they should get paid just as much as the guys. Are you kidding me? Even women out there would say or argue that that's dumb. Why do you think you should get paid more, especially if you have a low attendance? Like, really? It's not because you're a woman, and what they'll try to do is they'll try to spin it into a narrative. Oh, that's being sexist. It's not being sexist. It's really not. As a matter of fact, the NBA is doing more for you by keeping you afloat so you can play in the sport that you love. If you had a bigger attendance, then you would get paid more money. But the thing of the matter is, you just don't have the money to do it. You don't have the attendance. And the fact that the team that that played at the arena I work at had to move out of the arena because they didn't have a high attendance. They had to move to a location that was more condensed so their attendance rate could look more bigger than what it is. Like, they literally got downsized, but it works in their favor. It works for them. And then that's less money that the company has to dole out every single game that they play for a lack of attendance. Like, those games don't sell out. They don't. They never have. Maybe back in the day, like in its essence, but today, no, they don't. And anyone could tell you that. Most people just don't enjoy going or watching the WNBA. And that's really all it boils down to. It has nothing to do with black men. And I'm so sick and tired of that narrative. I'm tired of a lot of narratives when it comes to black men and the blame that we get for a lot of stuff that's not even our fault. It's not our fault that the WNBA doesn't have any support like that, especially since we are not the only ones that watch the games, for those who do. But when we do support, we support. But what do you expect us to do? We're only just a small fraction. Where's all the women at? That's who it's catered to. Why aren't all the other women there? Why are the women going to mainly the NBA games, and why aren't they coming to your games? But they won't question that. But it's easy, because it's easy. It is easy to blame black men because they have the target. Well, they can continue to blame black men all they want, but we don't have to listen to it. And if you feel some type of way about it, you'll just feel some type of way. Now, I didn't expect to go in this long before getting to the article, because I'm definitely going to read this article, because I want you to, if there's any feedback, I want people to hear what was said. And then I'm going to close it out with a couple more points. And one of the points is going to be one of my bigger points as it pertains to her. So let's get into it. The New York Liberty player recently took to Twitter to voice her frustration with what Draymond Green recently said about the state of women's sports. Instead of addressing him directly, she blamed all black men for not supporting the league. So she has an issue with what Draymond Green said, but instead of addressing him, she decides that she's going to address all black men and just swear up and down that it's black men's fault for not supporting the WNBA. She says, and I quote, "The amount of black men who drag our league and blame women for their problems while not making the connection to how that's exactly what white people do to you regarding your race just blows my mind. That's the double whammy of being black and a woman." Let's break down what she just said. The amount of black men who drag our league, first of all, it's not only black men that drag your league, but that's easy and convenient for her to say. Because the NBA is predominantly black as far as the players go. She says, drag our league and blame women for their problems while not making the connection to how that's exactly what white people do to you regarding your race just blows my mind. That's the double whammy of being black and a woman. So she threw race into it, and then she threw sex and gender into it as well. So I can tell she's having a gynocentric menstrual rant right now. The Golden State Warriors star wanted to raise awareness for women's sports, but some felt like he missed the mark when he raised points that women have been discussing for years. You make those that say they stand for women actually stand up. The NBA wasn't always the global game that it is today. It wasn't always driving as much revenue as it does today, Green tweeted, but there were people behind it building the platform and, more importantly, telling individual stories and building up the interest in the players. That's how the game took off. I don't see where he was wrong in that statement. He said that the NBA did not have the backing like it does today, but you build up support and momentum behind it, and now look at where it's at. The WNBA started off like that, but then they fell. That right there, in my opinion, falls onto the league owners. So if Layshia has a problem, she needs to go to the owners of the league instead of blaming black men who have no control over what their league is doing. I don't know who runs the WNBA, but that's who she needs to go to. But I'm gonna continue because this is going to go to a stronger point. Who's building up your platform? Who's telling the individual stories of how great y'all are? Building the interest in transforming women's basketball into a global game. Exactly. What he said there was not wrong. It wasn't misogynist or sexist or whatever you can throw out there. He was speaking facts and he wasn't being disrespectful. But because he's a black man and he's addressing women, in that tone, now he's this and he's that. That's why I say a lot of women just don't like being corrected. And let's just also put it out there that Layshia is also a part of the academy. She is. It's pretty damn obvious. You can look at it right here, and I'm going to touch on just a little bit of that towards the end of this article. It's hypocritical because the same companies that are telling women empowerment are not putting their money where their mouth is, Green said. Call on the companies to support y'all to infuse capital into the business. Again, where is Draymond Green lying? Where is he lying? See, the thing is, they don't like the truth. They don't like the cold, hard, harsh truth. Stop allowing them to yell women empowerment for the look. No company grows without funding. Y'all business can grow with proper funding and storytelling. Make these large companies commit money to y'all cause that's empowering, or don't yell women empowerment. And see, they're probably mad because, see, they figure, oh, as a man and him being in NBA, he doesn't have to go the extra mile. But the thing is, y'all aren't going the extra mile to get that support. And you wonder why your attendance gets lower and lower and lower every year. So it's something that you're not doing. But here's the thing. They want the people in the NBA to step up and do the work for them. That's what it is. They don't want to do the work like what Draymond Green is saying. They want everyone else to do it. That's not how that works, especially if I'm not going to get something out of the deal. Let's see what else they're talking about. So they posted up some screenshots of people reacting to what she said. I'm not going to read, some of them put pictures, but I'm going to go and read some of what people said in response. She says, okay, but that's not the argument she was making. Her entire argument was that black men hate the WNBA, don't move the goalpost. So this is someone responding to Draymond Green. But black men don't hate. Okay, let me continue. Someone said 60% of the WNBA games are men. The majority of the WNBA fans are black. Do the math. Someone else said, I hope the black men that do watch the WNBA stop watching now. And someone said, not y'all proving their point in the comments, and they put laughing emojis. And someone said, what was her point? Men of all races slander the WNBA, which I said in the beginning of this video. Yet majority of the viewership is black men. Why isn't she calling for the support of white women since she's married to one? Oh, spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. I was going to touch on that, but I still will, once I continue with this. Someone says, what's wrong with them expecting more out of black men than white women? As a white woman, I can vouch for our collective unreliability on these matters. I would love for more of us to support women in sports, but I'm not sure if it'll ever happen. Then someone else said, there are more of you than us. What happened to women supporting women? Didn't black women support y'all during the suffrage movement? You can't simply tune into a game to support your fellow women. Y'all did the same thing at the ballot box when HRC ran. And it's about Hillary Clinton. Someone else said, I guarantee it's more black men than can name. Never mind, Flourish, Missy. We always got to get kicked for no reason. Someone else said, on today's episode of Let's Blame Black Men for Everything, this bitch. Then someone else said, you already know. Then they posted a picture of her and her wife at their wedding. Someone else said, black lesbians hate black men and continue to blame black men for their problems. And that's the end of the article. Now, someone already revealed the plot twist for you, but it is what it is, but I'm going to still talk about it. Okay, this is a picture of Layshia Clarendon and her wife. And by the way, this woman, Layshia Clarendon, I didn't know until I scrolled down, but she had corrective surgery. She actually had her breast removed so she could have a chest like that of a man. So she literally is transitioning into a man. She literally got her breast augmented, removed. I'm looking at the picture right now where she actually got them removed and she's got it constructed to look like that of a man. I don't know if this was recent or not, but I'm seeing the pictures right now. So this woman has a lot of soul searching to do. She has self-hate issues. Clearly she hates, and I can tell, like I said, she definitely looks ambiguous. She definitely has some melanin in her. She clearly hates black men and she wants to go out and be one while married to you guessed it, a white woman. I'm gonna boil it down to this. I think Layshia Clarendon is mad because she will not live up to the names of the WNBA greats that have come before her. She will never be a Lisa Leslie. She will never be a Teresa Weatherspoon or a Shamiqua Holtzclaw or a Cheryl Swoops or a Skylar Diggins or the Gonzalez twins or Candace Parker. None of them. And those are just the ones I can name off the top of my head. Now, how can someone who say that they don't support the WNBA name off like 6 players off the top of their head like it was nothing and knew of their work ethic? Because you know what? Those women did not do what Layshia Clarendon did. They did not blame black men for their lack of attendance. Now, some can say it was timing because at the time they had a large attendance, but that was mainly for Lisa Leslie, Cheryl Swoops, and Shamiqua Holtzclaw. Skylar Diggins and Candace Parker and the Gonzalez twins, they came later. I think Candace Parker was probably like one of the last ones that had a large attendance surrounding, and that's mainly because of her. People came to see her life. I remember when I went to a WNBA game years ago when she was still playing, and that's back when it was her rookie season, I want to say. So it was back like when I was in college, and everyone came to see her because mainly, and I'm gonna be honest, Candace Parker look good. Let's be real here. Candace Parker is a good looking woman. She still looks good to this day. And I think that's why a lot of men went to go see her. So also it could be a thing of appeal as far as physicality and attractiveness, which will draw men there as well as, to see how well they play. Because there's always this thing, oh, she's a pretty girl. She may not know how to play sports and everything like that, but she could ball her ass off. So, and she didn't sit back and blame black men and then no one came to her games. Same thing with Lisa Leslie and Teresa Weatherspoon and all the other ones that I mentioned. They didn't sit back and blame black men for the lack of support. It's just that if they didn't want to support it, they have every right to not support it, and that's that. But to go into this narrative and to start talking about, oh, black men, they don't support us, and it's their fault why the WNBA is trash. That's very disingenuous. Because that's not the reason as to why. Maybe they just don't want to go. Maybe if they don't, like I said, if they don't support it, then they don't support it. And it's not just black men who don't support the WNBA. There are other groups of men who do that. I get tired of having to address stuff like this, which seems to be almost all the time. But I have no problem addressing it because, it's kind of my forte. So she wants to, quote unquote, drag black men. Well, guess what? Her ass got dragged right the fuck back for what she said. Because the days of black men just having to lie down and just take it from anybody is over. Whether online or in person, man or woman, or in her case, a confused individual. Now I'm going to need her to just go sit down somewhere and continue out the rest of her career and shut up about black men and the so-called lack of support the WNBA gets from them. And she's doing this based off of what Draymond Green said. She made it seem like the entire NBA came out and said something against the WNBA when that definitely wasn't the case. And like I said, Draymond Green was being very respectful with his words, and he was being very factful. And that's probably not a word, but I don't know. He was speaking facts with what he said. He was not wrong in his assessment because anyone else would say the same thing. Some probably would go even further than what he said. It might be a little bit more harsh, but he was being very respectful because he wanted to watch his words, and he already knew he probably knew he was going to be under scrutiny anyway. But it has to be said. It's the fact that Draymond Green is a black man speaking his mind. And here you have this woman who's clearly in the academy and ethnically ambiguous and clearly confused about herself internally that she decided to change her external. And before anyone says anything, this has nothing to do with her being in the academy, because if she was not in the academy, I would come at her the same exact way. It's just that her being in the academy is a bonus for me for why I could see or go in on her from another standpoint. Because those in the academy be having the same kind of talking points as those who aren't in the academy, who have the same kind of talking points towards black men all the time. And like I said, this is her wife. She's married to a whole Karen. I think her wife's name is Jessica. So She wouldn't dare go in on white women. She's married to a white woman. That white woman probably leave her so fast. But you know, I think I've said all I needed to say. I didn't even expect this video to go that long, but y'all know when I go in, I go in. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this down in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. If you have not done so already, make sure that you text the number that is pinned down in the comments below so you can receive notifications every time I upload a new video or go live.